Disclaimer. The Minority Report podcast by Mic Bminor. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are mine and mine only and do not reflect those of any affiliated individuals, organizations, or employers. This content is for entertainment and informational purposes only, so listen with an open mind. And if you don't agree, that's cool too.
Hello world, it's your boy Mic Bminor, man, and welcome to my podcast. I cannot believe we done got here, and I just want to make it very clear, y'all. I got this little script. This is my first one, so, I'm a little antsy. I don't really know how this is supposed to go. I don't know how it's supposed to go. I'm not supposed to cuss. I'm not going to try to cuss, but anyways, I'm not here to be right, y'all. I'm here to be real. The center ain't sexy, but it just might save us.
WhoBla?
WhoBla?
She black?
She black?
He black?
He black?
Me black?
Me black?
I'm just soaking my tea bag.
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of feedback. WhoBla? Who can tell
Hey.
me? You? Man, your Kool-Aid trash.
Anyways,
And you
y'all,
look at the
what's
back
going
of
on,
the-
man? It's your boy Mic Bminor, man, and I can't believe I done got here, man. It is crazy. It is crazy work to think that I'm doing a podcast. This is my very first episode of the Minority Report. This is going to be my podcast. I'm going to drop one. As of right now, I'm going to try to drop one every month. But before we get in there, man, I want to just make sure we just, set some ground rules so that you guys understand. I am going to try my best not to cuss. All right. I have an agreement, with my children, and I'm going to try not to cuss so much. Okay. Because every time I cuss and they're around, I got to give them money. And now, they do watch this. I hope they watch this. Hopefully they're watching they daddy. This is the Minority Report. This ain't about picking sides for clout. This is for folks who live in that tension, people who don't fit in the box, who don't yell all day on Twitter, who want to challenge everybody, including themselves, right? I'm doing this because I listen to a lot of pods, and I really think that I have a valuable opinion that people will listen to. The funny part is, and just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am an industry personnel to a degree. I do a lot of stuff in the industry. I do my own music too, but I also, I do work on other people's stuff in the studio, around town. I do produce, I play. I'm a touring engineer. I do lighting, I do sound. I did video. I don't really do it too much, but I've done it before. I'm a tour manager. I'm a production manager. I do a whole lot, man. Playback engineer, all that stuff. Playback programmer. All that. All right. So anyways, it's just a lot of stuff that's going on in this world, and I just felt the need to talk about it, man. I just want to kind of put my own content out there, and I hope that you guys will, find this fun, and you guys will find this inviting. You guys will value my point of view. Right now, as you can see, I'm at home at the bachelor pad. It's going to be changing up. Usually I am on tour, so it's going to be kind of crazy. I got to figure out how I'm going to be able to do this while I'm on the road or whatever. But the idea is that I'm going to put out a new episode once a month. On the first of every month, you will have a new episode of the Minority Report. And if you guys start giving me some money, you guys start supporting this, or I start getting some ad money, then maybe I'll do this a little bit more. But as of right now, just once a month, and I hope you guys, you guys just enjoy it. If you guys have any suggestions or whatever, please feel free to go on and shoot me a DM. You guys can follow me, Mic B_Minor, on Instagram. Same thing on TikTok. Just send me some stuff, man. If you guys have any questions, whatever, or send it in my DM, send it to me on a comment or whatever. Or leave it on the comments right here on YouTube. All that works for me. I am going to try to read as much as I possibly can. Right now, I got no followers, no subscribers, so I'm pretty sure I can read everything you guys say. But hopefully, you guys enjoy the content. So let's get right into it, all right? The first segment that we're going to go through is mic check. So, hey.
1 2 1 2 1 2.
The center, man. Let me talk about being in the center. Let me talk about why it's so important, why I say that the center might save us, right? So America was built to balance, not lean too far left, not lean too far right. It was built to be balanced. When you really think about how everything was going, right? when the framers came in, they were like, hey, we're going to have times when we're going to disagree. There's going to be things we're not going to exactly like about each other, whatever the case is. But when it's all said and done, we want to have civility and everything. And so that is what the framers of America envisioned. That was the idea with the framers, right? They were trying to find balance. They were trying to make sure that no matter what, no matter how much we may disagree, that we always had a way to come to an agreement or some kind of, like, even if it's agree to disagree. Right now, man, it feels like being in a center, like just wanting to live your life and, hey, you may not agree with everything that comes out or all the laws or whatever the case is, but you just genuinely want to be free. You genuinely want to just be able to live your life happily, do your work and everything. It feels like we're the people who are being treated like the radicals. You know what I mean? And we're not, man. We're just trying to we just want to be cool, man. Just because we're not the loudest doesn't mean that, we're not the majority. And I believe that the majority of not just Americans, but people in the world, they just look for peace and balance, okay? And we're being pulled. But you know what? It is what it is. Hopefully, this will be an escape for all of us who are in the center that are looking for somebody that's just level-headed. Hopefully, you guys think I'm level-headed. Some people think I'm crazy. But it is what it is. All right. We're losing a sense. We're losing sense by picking sides instead of solving problems, y'all. So my political journey, or just my journey in general, man, I grew up in Carson. I have a solid family, man. Both my parents are still together. Let's go clap it up for them. Both of them together. I have an older brother and a younger sister from those parents, right? Shout out to them. I don't have, my mom and dad don't have baby mama or baby daddy drama, all that. So, I already don't really fit the stereotypical African American on which I may think it is. But let me go on it and just kind of bring it home, right? I do, as I said before, I do have kids, yo. I got 2 kids from the same mother. There is that. But me and the mother obviously are not together because I'm talking about her. Oop. When I first graduated high school, I came out of school and was like, oh, I'm going to vote Democrat. So my first election that I voted in was when we elected Obama. Probably about 2014, I registered as a Republican before the midterms, and I voted. I mostly voted Republican. And then came Trump, and I was like, I can't be associated with that, man. I can't be associated. So now I am a registered independent. Yeah, man, feels good to be there. I hope you guys find these stupid little things funny. This is kind of just like icebreakers for me because this is so weird to be talking to a phone. I need you guys to understand, I really don't like this. Like, if you know me, I am a very active person in person. Up until, like, I've been kind of getting out of the shell of always being, to myself and private about stuff, but a lot of people don't even know what I got going on. So it is crazy to kind of see myself right now. I'm looking at myself in the camera and I'm just like, yo, man, this is crazy. I'm doing this, but I'm trying to keep it up. So, hey, round of applause for me for trying to figure it out. Anyways, so let me also say this, man. Civil disobedience, it has its place, man. We needed it for civil rights. It's not always needed for every issue, though. You know what I mean? Some things you do need civil disobedience. Sometimes being civil and civilly disobedient is cool. Sometimes it's like it's needed. But I also believe in doing it in a way that gets the message across. It brings attention to your message, but it doesn't harm people. It doesn't necessarily affect people too much. It just gets the message out. I do believe that, civil disobedience is necessary to get a message across. And let me give you guys an, sort of like how I think. When we talk about Trayvon Martin, okay, injustice, completely sick, hated the hell out of that, okay. When that happened and Zimmerman basically walked free, yes, we should have protested for that. Mike Brown, absolutely not. I'm sorry. All right. Not the same. Let's keep it real, guys. Just to quickly go on this, because I know I'm probably going to get killed already. I already lost like viewers and subscribers and everything by saying I don't really rock with the LGBTQ plus crowd. Once again, let me be as clear as possible. It's not that I don't like you guys. It's not that I don't respect what you guys got going on. I don't like the message that the fringe people are putting out there. I have friends. These are not just people who I work with. These are people who I will hang out with outside of work. You know what I mean? Even when we're on tour, we go out, we hang out. I have one of my friends, Cade, man. He goes both ways. You know, he ain't never done nothing with me, you know. But, you know, I respect him, man. He's a cool person. It's not about the people. It's about the message. And I'm really big on messaging and everything, all right? So I don't hate anyone, all right? I live and I love freely, and I want everybody to live and love freely, okay? But don't try to dominate the narrative, you know? Don't try to make everybody just agree with you. Just sometimes you got to be okay to be different, okay? Just to sum that up, let me just say it like this. I want equality, all right? I don't want dominance. I don't want nobody demanding total control or whatever, okay? And if you're different, you're different. It's okay. Just accept that you're different. Don't make everybody look at you as the same as everybody else when you're different from everybody else. That's it. I feel like we need to stop trying to match noise with noise. That's what happens when the left and the right, whether we're talking about the political divides, we're talking about racial divides, we're talking about just anything. Only time where it's okay to be like a complete lunatic about what you're doing is when we're talking about things that are subjective. One of those things being sports. Lakers, Raiders, and then everybody else. You know, I like who I like and I hate who I hate. I cannot stand the Cowboys. I'm sorry. There's nothing you can do to make me stand you guys. I can't stand the 49ers. My baby mama's family is 49ers fans and Cowboy fans. Guess what happens every time we're looking at TV? I'm talking mad snuff. Mad schnizzle. You feel me? That's what I do. They just got to deal with it. But you know what? At the end of the day, we all love each other. We're all cool. And we keep it a buck. Yeah, man, the center's been too quiet. All right. And we need to stop trying to match noise with noise. You know, sometimes, or my method is I'm going to push back briefly and I'm going to go quiet. I'm going to say what I got to say about it and I'm going to go and be silent. And then when it's time to actually take action, you know, when it's a debate or something like that, all right, I'm going to say what I got to say and I go back. I'm not going to keep bringing it up. I don't do that. I don't care. It's like you ask me about something, I'll say what I got to say and that's that. And then when it's time to vote, I vote how I vote. And it is what it is. And then when it's all said and done, it's peace and love. I don't want nobody getting killed. I don't want nobody getting hurt. I don't want nobody's feelings getting hurt, even though it's inevitable. Some people are not going to like where your position is, but that's what it is. I'm spending too much time on this. I'm going to try to push this along, all right? What this show is about, man, this show is for the thinkers, the travelers, the parents, the artists, anybody who feels politically homeless. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to push you to think, all right? So with that being said, we're going to go on and get this started off. We're going to get to my next segment, but I want to start this off, you know, shout out to me and shout out to everybody who's helping me, which is me, and me, okay? Clink, clink. First episode vibes, man. I'm going to take a shot. Anyways, and we're going to get into my next segment, which is headlines. Okay, all right. So let me also say this, all right? I am trying not to get sued. With that being said, y'all know what that is. That's the headline segment. So the headline, I want to talk about the TikTok man, y'all. Let's talk about it. Okay. As you guys know, or if you didn't know, on January 19th, the law was supposed to go into effect that basically TikTok, if it had not been sold, that they were going to ban TikTok because they saw it as a national security threat. Well, it did go offline and then it came back online with a message from the people basically like, how do I say this? They were kissing up to Donald Trump, thanking him for helping them bring it back on because he said that he was going to do everything he could to save it, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Trump. Yeah. Anyways, with that being said, when Trump came into office, he put out an executive order that basically said, hey, we're going to delay this ban for 90 days so that his administration will be able to review it. All right. That was January 19th or 20th when he signed the memo. January 19th when it was supposed to go out. Okay. It's already right now. I'm recording this. This is in March. So, you know, he's run out of time. So anyways, delayed it. We're in this dilemma. We're in this window or whatever the case is. And the reason why they were delaying it, the reason why it was happening is because they saw it and they said it was a national security threat. Now, with that being said, things I want to talk about, okay? Is TikTok a national security threat? Okay. It is risky if the Chinese government can use and they can access the app, you know what I mean? If they have the power to access this app and they can essentially gain access to your phone and with override your settings and be able to listen into what's going on or review the information on your phone or whatever. I don't know exactly what they said you can do, but if it is, it can turn everybody who has TikTok's phone into an active listening device or surveillance device for the Chinese government. It is absolutely, positively a national security threat, not just for our country, but for anybody who's using it. Okay? So it's especially risky, like if you think about like military families, government workers, diplomats, and everything. Like it's too much sensitive stuff. Even if we're just talking about the people at Apple, you know what I mean, who's working on something new or whatever. You know, just keeping our secrets, keeping people's privacy secret is. And I'm going to be very tactful of how I speak about these things because I also do travel to a lot of these countries. So I don't want to say anything and then all of a sudden I'm walking through it and I get flagged and like, hey, so respectfully, they have laws and they have a right to govern however they decide to govern. And whether I agree or disagree with it, I do respect the fact that their sovereignty is in place. And I have I have no claim to fame when it comes to that. I have nothing to say. I'm not a stakeholder in their sovereignty. I'm only a stakeholder in my American sovereignty. But with that being said, they run things differently over there. And in different countries, they have different expectations. In America, we're allowed to say, F the police, F the government, whatever the case is. And you're generally not supposed to get in trouble. Okay? Can't do that everywhere. So, yeah. Is it a national security risk? It can be. I can see how it is a national security risk. All right. To be fair, America spies too. I'm pretty sure, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure there are some things out there where America can do. And I do feel like a lot of times when American policies come up, we have like a little bit of like, we feel like karma's going to catch up to us, so we start trying to like prevent the inevitable or whatever the case is. But there is that. We'll get into that later on. But you know what? Hey, it is what it is. I'm not here to really say whether or not they're right or they're wrong. But what I will say is, China does block U.S. apps. I was in China, and when I was in China, I wasn't able to use Facebook. I wasn't able to use Instagram. I don't even use Twitter that much, but I tried to get on Twitter one time just to see if it worked. You know what I mean? And I wasn't able to access that from China. Now, I did hear from a certain couple of citizens who I will not name that the way you do it and the way that a good majority of people who do have access to it in that country is they just get a VPN and they're able to kind of hide that stuff. And it is a good amount of people who even currently follow me right now and that are, very capable of getting past whatever roadblocks the Chinese government has set up. But in general, it is theoretically illegal to use these apps in their country. Okay. So if they block us, why are we tripping if we block them? Now, I know a lot of people make money off of TikTok. TikTok is a more organic platform. I like it. I actually have just started to kind of acquiesce to TikTok. I tried it a couple of times and now I'm actually consistently doing it. And I'll tell you, I do like TikTok better. I like their algorithm. I like how organic everything is. But, it is what it is, man. I just, it's kind of one of those things where it's out of my hands. I'm not the one making a decision. I just want y'all to make a decision. By the way, I want to put this out there. And, Trump, quote unquote, is the one who said, hey, we want to review this and figure out a way to save this. Let's also remember that Trump was one of the first major first major political figures to call for the banning of TikTok. So it was actually kind of stupid to me because you put this thing into place in some ways and shapes and forms. You were like, we got to ban this app. Now you come back. Oh, I saved it because, anyways, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are looking like, yeah, you just hate Trump. So you're just going to say everything's bad about him, blah, blah. Okay. That's just me. All right. So who benefits the most if TikTok is banned? Besides, of course, making sure that our national secrets are that much safer from foreign adversaries, potential adversaries or whatever. Well, we all know that Meta's going to love that. If they go down, if TikTok goes down, then all we got is Instagram and Snapchat, as far as the big ones. So, we know that Instagram's growth started to slow when TikTok started booming and people were leaving by the troves. They were saying, hey, forget this Instagram stuff. We're going to TikTok. TikTok is really doing it. So, that did happen. Culturally, TikTok, it is very organic. It's raw. It rewards creativity. IG and Twitter became very corporate, man, and harder for indie voices to grow. And that was what was so dope about it when it first came out, was that you could just be a regular person and you never know. You could really grow your career, man. It restructured everything. So I feel like banning TikTok could silence independent creators of color to a degree. But whatever. The center side. I'm on TikTok. I'm trying to grow just like everybody else. This ban hurts small creators and not billion-dollar execs. But you know what? It is what it is. I just want them to make a decision so that me, as a creator who doesn't have $1 trillion to just continue to build on everything at the same time, I know what I could focus on. Okay, so devil's advocate. If TikTok is a Chinese Trojan horse, shouldn't we protect ourselves? That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Are we being too open in the name of freedom? Is it weakness and not principle? Maybe Meta and Google should control more of our content. At least they're our problem as Americans, okay? If you wouldn't let Russia own a major U.S. platform, why would you let China, if China is one of our major adversaries or one of the people who we see having problems with, we're seemingly having problems with, even though we buy a ton of stuff from them, but whatever. If this was a Chinese app pushing right-wing content, would the left still defend it? That's a good question, okay? Anyways, pushing forward, my final thought. I don't have all the answers. I just want real questions to be asked. Is this about national security, capitalism, or controlling the culture? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'm going to keep on going. Also, just real quickly, just so that you guys know, I have a timer on here, and sometimes you might hear it, whatever. I'm trying to just keep my my stuff to minimum, whatever, so I can get to the point. I know me, when I'm in a very hearty debate with friends or whatever, we talk forever. Me and my closest friends will stay on the phone for 4 or 5 hours talking. I don't even like being on the phone that much, but with the people who I like to talk to, I will talk with them all day and all night. I don't want to do that with you guys. So if you hear the beep, just know it's just me trying to tell me to stop being me. Anyways, let's go to our next subject. And we effing ball. Yeah, you gotta be a a 90s or a 2000 baby or a 80s to know where that came from. But anyways, yeah. I'm gonna play it one more time because that was so far. As I said before, y'all, I am a Laker fan and I am a Raider fan. I'm gonna talk as quickly as I possibly can about the Lakers, man. Because I'm only putting these things out once a month, it's hard for me to really dive in about specific games in particular. So I try to generalize my comments. But let me also say this. Even though I do watch sports throughout the week with the basketball games, I know that, the NBA and especially Lakers, because they make so much money, they got all these deals and they want you to pay like $1 million extra on top of the regular subscriptions you have just to be able to see them play. But I tend to catch at least half the games, or at least 33% of the games I catch. But I really don't tend to care until the playoffs. That's when it all matters. My teams are winners. Now, watch what you say about the Raiders. Watch what you say. I know some of y'all gonna be like, Raiders ain't won since 2000. Watch what you say, okay? We should be winners, and we have championships, and at least we're not like the Cleveland Browns. Anyways. Or the Cincinnati Bengals. And at least we've seen a Super Bowl, within the past 20 years. We've actually seen like higher competition. The Cowboys can't say that. Anyways, yeah. Let me get back to the Lakers. Okay, so let's just be very clear. Let me just kind of just rapid fire this. Okay, I believe the Lakers can win the chip, y'all. I mean, yes, I'm a Laker fan. I'm jaded in my, interpretations of these things. And yes, say what you want to say. I believe Luka, LeBron, AR, I just think we're good enough. Now, my road to success for the Lakers is very simple. It is the path of least resistance. Okay? Obviously, we done beat the Nuggets twice this year. Okay? That was our Achilles heel last year, and the year before that, Darvin Ham couldn't figure it out. So it is what it is. I'm gonna say it straight up, man. I'm a Laker fan, but I am not a fan of Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka, if you guys don't know, is the GM or the president of basketball operations for the Lakers. He's our GM. He sucks. Okay, he used to be Kobe's agent. That's how he got his position. I don't think he's that good. I'm sorry. Now, Rob, if you're watching this at some point in time, I hope, or somebody sends you this to say this, I hope you don't deny me getting courtside seats. I really want to be courtside. But I just think that you make a lot of mistakes. Anyways, Rob Pelinka, man, I think he overpays, he backstabs, he doesn't build smart, no accountability, man. I just want to bring this up. So when we talk about like, oh, but he got AD, okay? When he got AD, I want you to understand Magic Johnson was there first. Well, was there when Rob Pelinka was there, and there was a whole lot of backdoor stuff that was going on, and they say that Rob Pelinka was pretty shady. All right, but anyways, when Magic Johnson originally inquired about getting AD, the Pelicans made their offer, and when they made their offer, Magic was like, yeah, I'm not willing to pay that much. I mean, he already said he wants to come here anyway, so I mean, shoot, we'll just wait it out. So I need you to understand that AD had made it very clear that he wanted to play with LeBron in LA. And he was on the last year of his contract when Rob Pelinka traded for AD. So we knew he was coming, but when Magic Johnson left in the fashion that he left, and he kind of just said, hey, I really ain't rocking with Rob. Rob had to, do something to solidify his position, because now that Magic was out the way, you talked all this mess. Now you actually got to deliver something. So he overcompensated the Pelicans for a player that wanted to come to us anyway. Okay, for the AD trade, I want you guys to remember, we gave up Lonzo Ball, who, and just to kind of go back, okay, and this was Magic Johnson's fault, but we could have had De'Aaron Fox. When we picked up Lonzo Ball, we could have picked De'Aaron Fox. And even though De'Aaron Fox looked like the better pick, Magic Johnson was like, yo, Lonzo Ball family, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, that being said, we traded Lonzo Ball, who was, before he got hurt, he was actually pretty good. We gave up Lonzo Ball. We gave up Josh Hart. We gave up B.I., you know what I mean? And we gave up DeAndre Hunter. We gave up all these people and a 2022 first-round pick, which became Dyson Daniels. And we gave up a 2025 first-round pick. I'm sorry, the 2022 first-round pick and a 2025 first-round pick. We gave up all that just so that we can get AD, who was coming to us for free once his contract ended the following year. Thank you, Rob Pelinka, for trading so much of our future so that you can secure somebody that was coming to us regardless. Mind you, let me also say this. When we traded for AD, we did not win the chip until a year after. He had been with the team for a little bit during that year, and then the year after is when we actually won the chip. We could have gotten AD for free, guys. With that being said, when we think about the Westbrook trade, okay, everybody knows it's public knowledge that AD and LeBron approached Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka and said, we want Westbrook. We think we can win with him. And that Rob Pelinka made that happen. I understand that when you have your stars and they ask for something, you're supposed to give them what they want. With that being said, at some point in time, we all have to have a simple understanding that saying no to a player because you don't think is a good job is your job when you are the GM. When you are the builder of the team, you have to sometimes say, hey, you know what? I don't think that's going to work. We're going to go this other way. And if the player, gets mad and complains, sometimes you just have to take the heat. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. But the Westbrook trade, let me tell you something about the Westbrook trade that pissed me off. Yo, Do you guys realize that when Westbrook got traded, nobody said this is a great thing for LA? Nobody. Nobody said it, y'all. And no offense to Westbrook, he's an LA native. I wanted the best for him, man. On his first game in Staples Center in the purple and gold, man, the boy had a Hennessy commercial, bruh. He was trying to do it for the culture. We lost the game. We didn't make the playoffs that year. I'm sorry, y'all, man. That trade was trash. And then Rob Pelinka sat up there and let the narrative go out there that this was LeBron and AD's pick. I didn't want him. We had Buddy Hield coming. We had, DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, that's who I was making happen, and they killed that. You're the GM. At some point in time and say, hey, you know what? That's what they wanted, but I didn't want that, so I'll trade it for who I traded for. We gave up Kyle Kuzma. We gave up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, man. We gave up Montrezl Harrell and a number 22 pick, right? And we also passed on Buddy Hield, DeMar DeRozan, ended up trading Alex Caruso, right? That's what we did. It pisses me off, guys. That being said, I have already been told I spent too much time on this. I want to talk about the Raiders, but we'll get into them the next time. Hey, Pete Carroll, let's do it. Hey, Raider Nation. Let's get into my next segment. My next segment is going to be all about the freaking Benjis.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yes, that's right. You can imagine the people who came into the studio and set that in a microphone for me so I can use that sample. Anyways, here we go. All about the Benjamins, man. I want to focus on something that's near and dear to my heart because I'm going through it right now, all right? Buying a home in California. In fact, just buying a home in general, man. Yo, let's be serious, man. These housing prices, what the actual H is going on with these housing prices? These housing prices are insane. I remember when you are from LA, let me tell you something. A lot of us, we look at Las Vegas as an extension of LA. LA extended, as I will call it. There's so many times I've went to Vegas and seen people I knew from LA in Vegas. They're like, oh yeah, I moved out here, or yeah, I'm just out here, I'm chilling. Man, Vegas is a 3 to 4 hour drive, with no traffic from LA. And you will run into more people in Vegas from LA than you will run into them in LA. Vegas is just like, outside home. But everybody knew that Vegas was cheap, man. You used to be able to get houses out there like, I want to say maybe 3-4 years ago. You could probably get a house in Vegas for about like $300,000-$400,000. Right now they're going like $500,000-$700,000 in Vegas. That's absolutely asinine. All right. But anyways, trying to buy a house, man. For me, I've been looking in the Inland Empire, Ontario, Corona, West, Riverside, Chino, right? I'm trying to stay LA adjacent because I do a lot of work in LA, So I'm trying to stay closer to LA. I used to live in Paris, California, and I am still willing to move to Paris. But, I mean, the prices out there are still crazy, too. But, I was ready to buy in 2020, all right? 2020, I was going to buy a house. And let me explain this to you guys real quickly, all right? I had picked a house. It was 2,300 square feet. It was $365,000 in Paris. Okay, it was sitting on half an acre of land, I want to say, or maybe less than that, but whatever. It was a 2,300 square foot house for $365,000. What happened was, while I was in the office speaking to them about the house I wanted, talking about the build and everything that I wanted, we were talking, and it got to the point where we're like, okay, well, you seem like you want to get it, and we have this plot and we're going to work with you, so you want to make a deal. And I'm like, you know what, I love this deal. We talk about it, and it gets to the point where I am almost ready to sign the paperwork. And then I looked up at the time. I was supposed to catch a flight to Australia that night, and it was like 2 or 3 p.m. No, it was actually a little bit earlier, but I had to go pick up my children from school. My daughter had an after school event that I had to attend, and I hadn't even packed. And I said, yo, I am running out of time. I have to catch a flight out of town to go to work. Yo, look, save this information. I'm going to be gone for about 3 weeks. When I come back in 3 weeks, the first place I'm going to stop by is after I come home and I get situated, I'm going to come here. We're going to sign a contract. So, not doing a lot of math, but let me explain to you guys. I was ready to put down $50,000, $40,000. I'm sorry. I was going to put down $40,000 up front that day, but because I didn't have enough time, I said I'll come back and I'll put it down. I was going to put $40,000 up front. It was going to take them about 6 to 9 months to build the house, and when they were done building the house, I had a deal with an artist. I had a retainer set up. I was supposed to receive a retainer, and let me give you guys an understanding of what a retainer is. When you get a retainer, that means the artist is going to pay for your services for a certain amount of time, usually a year, right? And they say, we're going to give you this much money, you work for us, and based off of this, you have to work a certain amount of days. Usually it's like 200 to 250 days or whatever of that year you work. Anything over that, you get to negotiate the rate, whatever. They were calling it a retainer, but really it was an advance. They were going to give me $50,000 of an advance. Okay, based off of the schedule that they had originally floated to me, as far as this artist, by the summertime, mind you, I had this conversation with about the house in February of 2020. By the summertime, by June, July time, I would have surpassed that advance and been into, like, I probably would have made $100,000 off of the artist by the summertime, based off of the schedule they were going and based off of the rate they were giving me. So I was getting an advance, and I was like, yo, once I get that advance, I'm gonna put that advance on top of the $40,000 I was going to put down, and whatever money I was gaining, I was going to, pretty much empty my savings to buy the house. $365,000 for the entire house. I would have paid that house out. I would have paid it off in 2 to 3 years, based off everything, but I flew out. Basically, I said, I'll come back. They said, okay, cool. I flew out, and literally it was like a movie, bro. I went to Australia. Mind you, the first leg of the tour that I was going on was supposed to happen in China, but COVID-19 was happening. So they said, we're canceling that because we don't know what's going on in that region. We went to Australia. We went, had shows, we partied, had fun. Literally, every time I landed in another city, some people from the previous city hit me up and said, you will never believe it. They hit me up and said, you will never believe it. The city shut down. For what? Oh, because of COVID-19. I said, that's crazy. But I didn't know what a shutdown was because I was partying somewhere else. So I kept leaving. I finally get to Sydney. We have our final show, have a crazy night. Kick it, chill, do the show, kill the shows, biggest show of the tour. Kill the show, have a great after party. Realize I had been there on my first time that I came to Australia, and the first time I came to this club that I was hanging out at the end of this tour was a club. I was there with Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, and we were both support artists opening up for Eminem. Okay, so I'm out there. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm back here, and this is the same club, and it's still the same energy, bro. It was popping. We had a great time. Woke up, got everybody ready. I was a tour manager on this tour. Got everybody ready. Said it's time to go. We get to the airport. Yo, people are walking around in spacesuits. I could not believe it. I'm like, what, man? Everybody's tripping. What is this COVID-19? I don't know nothing about it. We get back to LA. You guys, they asked, have you been to Wuhan? I'm like, of course I haven't. But yeah, this is the first time I ever seen this message whenever coming back into the country. I'm like, oh man, things must be serious. I drive out. This is a Saturday afternoon, Saturday late morning or early afternoon, and I'm driving home, and I'm used to traffic being there, and the streets are absolutely clear. I'm like, oh man, things is bad. I get home, I start hearing about it. They called me 2 weeks into the pandemic and asked that I still want to buy the house. I'm like, yo, y'all gotta be crazy. The world is freaking ending, and y'all trying to get me to buy a house. You guys are badass crazy. Okay, obviously I didn't buy the house. Same house is now worth $550,000 and rising. All right, I missed my opportunity. Okay, corporations now own over 60,000 homes in SoCal. Okay, home ownership rate is 55.8% in California, and is 65.7% nationally. 44% of the homes in SoCal are renter occupied, which is not sustainable. HOA fees are wild, man. Some places right now, I have seen townhouses that are literally saying we want $365 to $450 a month for freaking HOA fees. That's crazy. Townhomes are now going for like $700,000, $800,000 in Vegas. Like I said, there some places going like there's homes going for that same price. All right, people will say move out of state, but look, I can't really do that because the music and the entertainment industry still runs through LA. There's Atlanta, there's New York, and then there's LA. That's music industry. Okay, inflation, man, it feels like the new normal, but a recession might finally deflate it. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. A recession might be good for this country. Okay, after COVID, man, everyone, businesses included, tried to claw back all their losses, man. That's what happened. We lost so much money. Yo, to give you guys a personal example, before the pandemic, I was making six figures. I was making a little bit over $150,000. Not even a little. I was making anywhere between $150,000 to call it $190,000 a year. That was in 2019. That's how much I was making. Okay. The pandemic happened, man. I was barely scraping $30,000, $40,000 a year. Okay, during COVID, I had to take the auto loan, the EIDL, economic blah 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 disaster loan, economic investment disaster loan, whatever the hell that thing was called. Anyways, I took that just to stay afloat, man, and I emptied out my savings because I couldn't work for a year and a half. And then literally when I was right about to go back to work, and I was gonna work for like 3 or 4 artists at the first Rolling Loud after the pandemic ended, the first live Rolling Loud, I freaking broke my leg. I'll get into that story a little bit later. I'm not going to get into it right now. I broke my leg and I was out for pretty much the rest of the year. I couldn't make any money, y'all. I literally ran through my savings. Anyways, yeah, so maybe inflation isn't the issue. Maybe we just got used to artificially low prices. I just want to note, back in the 80s, man, when my parents bought their home, rates were 16 to 20% interest rates. Right now, people are complaining about 8%. But regardless, the prices are too high and the rates are too high as far as interest, man. I mean, they're trying to do things about it, but I just don't see it, man. Inflation is super high, and it's too hard for people to buy freaking homes, right? Especially in freaking California, y'all. So I want to kind of transition from this, man, to say that, housing is no longer about shelter, it's about a battleground for wealth. At some point in time, we got to ask, how free should the free market be? And now I'm going to transition to my next segment, and that is Family Matters.
We are family.
Thank you to the people who came into the studio and recorded that song for me. Okay. I got a question. I have an idea. Okay. My idea is as follows. Let me get a sip. So, I have an idea, right? And I'm going to start off with a question. Should long-term renters get credit towards home ownership? Think about people who have been living in a home that they were renting for like 10, 20 years. Think about the fact that whoever was renting that home out to them was allowed to raise the rent of that home every single year for a certain percentage. And every time they raised the rent, they got more money a month than they were getting originally when they first made the deal. But with that being said, their mortgage payments did not change. The only thing that might have changed is the tax. But for the most part, the mortgage payments did not change, guys. And they are able to charge more and more and more every single year. But they don't have to pay any more for the house. And once the house is completely paid off, their mortgage payment isn't costing more. Only thing that's costing more is maybe taxes. But for the most part, once their mortgage is paid off, all they ever have to pay is taxes. So just understand, like, it's kind of crazy to me that when you rent a house, your money just goes away. Now, I learned, and I employ this idea with myself. I have my business, I have myself set up as a business, and I rent my apartment through my business. So because I rent my apartment through my business, I am able to write off my entire apartment, because it's the housing for the CEO of the company. It's legal. But for the people who aren't able to do that because they don't have a business that can justify that, or they don't understand the tax code enough to be able to do something like that, imagine how much money they put. Let's just do simple math. If they were putting let's say they were paying $1,000 a month, and this is low. Nobody's paying $1,000 a month. But if they were paying $1,000 a month, right? Okay, that person probably at the time bought the house for about, let's say they bought the house for $100,000, and when they bought the house for $100,000, they rented the house out for $1,000 a month. Okay, that means that within 8 years, the amount of money that the person paying them rent paid them, they would have paid the house off. They were staying there for 20 in this example. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So they have given you the house's entire cost to you 2 times. And that's saying that you never rose the rent, okay? People definitely raise the rent. I think that now long-term renters should get a credit towards their home ownership, all right? My proposal is 10% of long-term rent payments count toward a future down payment. First right of purchase for tenants in single family homes so basically if somebody's been living in your home for over 5 or more years, they should get first dibs at buying a house, okay? If they don't want that unit, they can transfer that rental equity to another home purchase. And the government matches some of the equity to increase the access for the people who are renting. Because let's be for real. We should want more people to own homes than people to be renting out homes. I understand it's a business, it's a lucrative business, but we shouldn't want people to be renting for the rest of their life, okay? So with that proposal, whatever the case is, we will fund it by putting a small tax on landlords with more than 5 units, a vacancy penalty on corporate-owned properties, and a windfall tax on flip properties. So properties where people are just going up in there and they purchase a house as a flipper in 2 years, we should just tax them a little bit. We're not saying to take all the profit or whatever, but we should tax them a little bit and get a little piece of that. That's how you can pay for this program that I'm proposing. All right, that. Giving people access to homes and letting people actually own the homes that they're living in, especially people who've been there long term, I just think it's the right thing. What do you guys think? Put that in the comments. All right. Let me also talk about this other thing that this is the stupidest thing. It's not the stupidest thing ever. It's supposed to be for like when we're talking about townhomes and we're talking about apartment complexes and stuff like that. But HOAs, y'all, these HOAs are crazy. Man, these HOAs are charging, as I said before, there's some HOAs now over in the area in Chino, which is near where I live. I looked at some townhouses out there. Do you know these fools were charging $355 a month for HOA fees? And they said, well, every 2 years we paint the outside and we keep the grounds good and we have a pool and we have multiple gyms and multiple pools and multiple clubhouses. I said, for $355 a month, I can do all that for myself and then some. Not to mention the fact that there are over 1,000 units in this property. And you guys are trying to sit here and tell me I need to pay $355 a freaking month. So that means to say if they have 1,000 properties, I just want you to think that means they're making $355,000 a freaking month to make sure that the bushes are cut and trimmed. The grass is cut, the pool is clean, that somebody takes care of the weight room and everything. Yeah. I have a proposal. What if we had an HOA reform, right? HOA should come up for vote every 6 to 10 years. Every 6 to 10 years, HOAs should have to basically set up a proposal, and the residents should be able to vote to say, we want to keep the same HOA, or we want to go with a different HOA. And the situations where the HOA is only managing housing, like standalone houses, those people should turn around and be able to say, hey, you know what? We don't even want an HOA. We want the city to take over. And if that happens, the city just charges a tax, and then they take it over as if it's a part of the city. That would change things. I bet you HOAs will come with prices that make sense. They wouldn't try to screw people over. You know what I mean? Because my whole thing is like, if you have an HOA, even if you own your place, if you have an HOA, you basically have a landlord. And if you have a landlord, what's the point of buying the house? You should just be a renter. And it seems like they want more renters than they want owners. I'll move on. All right. Devil's advocate. Okay. Seeing down the middle. Okay. That's my view. But let me give you an opposing view from where I'm coming from. Why reward renters who haven't saved? Okay. Because equity isn't just about cash, y'all. It's about access and options. They still need good credit, income, and other things to qualify for a mortgage. That's the only way they're going to qualify for a mortgage. They got to have a good credit history, and they got to have enough income. So if we just give this little thing, we take a little bit of what they're paying into the rental property, and they're able to save that up, and then they can use that towards a home purchase. Who's to say that more people wouldn't purchase homes, especially if the government is matching a portion of that? Okay. What about the buyers who did it the hard way? It's not about penalizing them. It's about fixing a broken system. And let's just be for real. We can't make everybody happy. But guess what? You want to know how current homeowners can really win off of this system? Well, if more houses are being bought, that means the price for your house is going to rise. It's that simple. Okay. Will this raise rents if landlords know it will help and tenants? It possibly, but that's why regulation is built in. The alternative is just to let poverty rise, man. Look, if property prices rise, people make more money. Okay. If property owners start charging more on the rent, maybe that's, it's not a perfect system, but we got to do something. The more equity people have, and the more access to equity, and the more chances they have to get access to that equity, the better we can do for to end poverty, which is what we would like to do. It's not going to completely end it, but if we can reduce it a lot more than what it is, especially when you're talking about people who are working 2 full-time jobs and still consider in the poverty level, I'm pretty sure it would do something for you guys. All right. Maybe California just isn't meant for regular people anymore. Maybe. But that's the exact problem we're trying to fix. Okay. My final thought, y'all. The free market has limits. Equity makes the country stronger, and you don't fix poverty by waiting. You fix it by building ownership opportunities for all. All right. And so with that being said, I am now going to transition to my next segment. And my next segment is The Village.
Welcome to our village.
Once again, thank you to the people who came into the studio and recorded that for me. Anyways, The Village, y'all. I want to talk about local detachment, man. Let me also explain to you guys what this is about. The Village is to talk about the community. We're going to bring community news. Sometimes I'm going to be talking about things concerning the community, an extension of talking about the family, because I believe in families. I believe in strong families and building the family unit. But along with building the family unit, I also want to talk about, the community. A stronger family unit means you're going to have, usually engages, when you have good families, they notice and they respect other good families, and they tend to vibe with other good families, and good families have become good friendships for other family units. Okay. And that's how you create your village. These people then become voting blocks. These people start to talk about things going on in the community. And when they feel like something's wrong, they go and they complain to the community, to the community leaders, and they get things changed. That is how community is supposed to work, especially in America. And it hasn't worked like that. So I am trying to advocate for that. And so I'm going to have a segment that is completely dedicated to that. Okay. So with that being said, man, the village, man, there's so much infighting and division at the national level, man, but we're sleeping on local government. Okay. We need to flip the focus. We need to have bottom up pressure and not top down noise. Okay, local leaders should be built up from the community and not just dropped in from political machines and political PACs and stuff like that. All right, we need to start building up our local government. Okay. And most people don't even understand how local government works. All right. It's city councils, it's district judges, it's zoning boards. Okay. All these people we vote for. Okay. We need civic education in the community, because if you understand how your community is supposed to work with the council, okay, your city council is equivalent to the House of Representatives or the senators. Okay. Your mayor is equivalent to the governor or to the president. Okay. You guys have to understand how these things work. Okay. And the reason why these things are important is because when you understand how your local government works, you start to understand, or you start to form opinions about how you want your state government to work and ultimately the federal government to work. Right now, this message is genuinely directed towards American people. But for all my out of the country listeners and viewers, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to get into civil disobedience, but this is how democracy is supposed to work. Okay. The local leaders, the local community is supposed to be able, well, the local community knows what they need, and they should be able to make determinations for certain things that truly affect what they're dealing with. Okay. Of course, there's other outside forces that they're going to have to deal with and negotiate with to make things work, but there should be some kind of consensus. But we don't have that because a lot of people are very detached. Right now, everybody's focused on Donald Trump and Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Obama or whoever's out there, Hakeem Jeffries or Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Rand Paul or freaking what's that idiot I can't stand, Jim Jordan. Oh my God, I can't stand that man. I cannot stand him. But we're so focused on them, J.D. Vance and all these other people, that we don't even look at what's going on in our community. And we need to start fixing our communities. And then when we start fixing our communities, we'll start creating products from our communities. All right. And then guess what? When we send them up or we start voting them into places for our communities, and they show that they can handle that, they start to move up. And as they start to move up, they get to the next level. They start going to the state level. And then from the state level, they go to the federal level. Okay. And in that case, we can watch them and we can also help mold them. And if they start being a problem, we become the people who are going to judge their character. Okay. So anyways, it's super important, right, that we start building up our local government and then starting to see how with good local governments we can create better politicians that go all the way up to the top of the federal government. All right. I was talking in my last segment about the housing crisis. Okay. Right now, I want to expand more into that. Okay, minimum wage in California right now is $16.50 an hour. Okay, which is $2,904 a month before taxes if they work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. All right, 30 days or whatever. All right, so after 30% in taxes. And I'm just saying that state tax and federal tax and all the other little stuff it comes up to about 30% that comes out of your check. They get to take home about $2,032. Okay. Rent in the rough parts of LA, you can find it for like $1,700. Okay. So if let's say rent is $1,700, that means you have $332 left. Even if it's just yourself, that's $332 to feed yourself, to transport yourself to and from work. Hopefully you can do that with that. All right. Utilities have to be paid for that. Your funds as far as for your phone and stuff like that, all that stuff has to be paid off with this $332. Even with 2 jobs at 60 hours a week, your take home after taxes will be about $3,048 a month. Okay. So yeah, that's a little bit better. You know what I mean? But you're still barely clearing survival. God forbid you're making that much and you have a family. Think about how you're living. Think about how hard that is for these folks out there, man. It's absolutely crazy. All right. Now, think about if we were to just drop rent $300. Think about what that would do. Let's say they only have one job, and that job is paying the $2,900 gross, and they're taking home after taxes to $2,032. I think that's what we said, right? $2,032, right? So let's say we take that. Instead of paying $1,700 a month and they were only paying $1,300, they now have $600 to spend on their bills versus $300. Think about what that does. If they get the 2 jobs and say they're working part-time on one job and full-time on another job, they're working 60 hours a week, only making the minimum wage, and they end up with $3,048 at the end of the month after taxes and everything. Now, instead of them only having $1,300 to spend, they now have $1,600. Think about what they can do with that money, how they could progress in life. Somehow, some way, we need to really work on this housing crisis, guys. All right, cities need to regulate housing costs. Hate to say this, man. Some people don't like it because it inhibits a free market, as people want to say. But the thing is, we should not be making other people rich by making, we should not be making a certain group of people rich by making a certain group of people poor. It shouldn't happen that way. Yes, money has exchanged from both ends. The rich people have to build the jobs and pay the poor people, and then the poor people have to pay for the services that the rich people provide. I get that. It's a cycle of life. But the whole thing is, at some point in time, if everybody is broke, remember, they say the top 1% it pretty much pays more taxes than the bottom 99. Or I think it's either that or the top 10% pay more than 90% under them. All right. I just want you to think about that. If those people at the bottom don't have no money, a lot of your stuff goes away. You're not as rich anymore. So I just suggest that. All right. Cities need to regulate housing costs, man. Local reps should focus on building affordability and not pleasing the developers. Better public policy will help low income folks get ahead without working 60 hours a week. I want you guys to think about this. Back in the day, people had one job, and one adult in the house could work one job. Whether they worked all day or not, they were able to work one job, but they made enough to purchase a home, feed their family, and take care of the bare necessities at the very least. And if they worked hard or whatever, they moved up, they had more money. Right now, you can work your freaking butt off and not even be able to pay rent and own a car. So I also think that the youth need to be safer, man. We need to really focus on safety. We need real safety for not just for us, but especially for our youth. And that doesn't mean more police. Okay, we as a village need to band together and protect our streets. We need to make our streets safer. Hey, I'm not a big advocate for drug dealers, but let me speak to the drug dealer on here. Okay, yo, stop selling drugs to kids. Stop selling drugs to their mama. I'm not going to say too much because I'm probably going to lose some support. We need safer streets so kids can be kids longer. Focus on youth programs and cleaning up the streets with care. Okay, we need to elect better leaders and not just political lifers, career politicians that treat politics like business. Propose post-service restrictions. If you pass bills that benefit industries, you can't turn around and work for them. We got to close that, y'all. That's crazy. Okay, now, I understand local governments are underfunded, but they do as much as they can do. Or they, and that's very true, but they still choose where the money goes. Priorities matter, y'all. We need to do better. The community isn't unified, man. That's what they say, all right? And that's real. But this unity shouldn't be a barrier to progress. It should be a reason to listen more. This is what people voted for. No, it's what people got. It's not what they voted for. It's what people got because they were uninformed or they were uninspired. We need to re-engage the community. Let me remind you guys, 2018, 49% of the registered voting public turned out, and it had the highest rate for a midterm since 1914. 2020, about 2/3, 66% of the voting public or the voting eligible public was the highest rate for any national election since 1900. All right, 2022, 46% exceeded all of the midterms since 1970, with the exception of the 2018 midterms. In 2024, the general election was 63.7%, which was lower than 2020, but higher than every other election year since at least 2004. Yes, we are getting you're getting more people to participate, but out of all these numbers I ran off to you, you never heard over. The highest was 66% of the the registered voting public that actually did anything. We need more people to vote, but you need to start engaging more in your community, understanding how government works, and maybe not spend all day on Fox News or CNN looking at how bad Trump or how bad the Democrats are. Maybe we need to just learn a little bit more and spend more time, learning who we're electing so that we can spend the rest of our time focusing on what matters the most and knowing that the people that we elected are going to do what they need to do to make our lives better. So with that, the village has been neglected, but it still has power. It still has power. And if we start building leaders from within, educating others and demanding transparency and fairness locally, we stop waiting for Washington to save us and we start saving ourselves. With that being said, let's go into the next subject. This is going to be a tough one. Global frequency, y'all. Let's talk about what's happening around the globe, y'all. All right. So I want to say this right now. Jesus. I know this is a very tough subject. So I am going to try to handle this with care. I have a personal connection to what's going on in Gaza. I have friends on both sides. I have friends who support Israel and I have friends who support the Palestinians. I have friends who are from these areas. I have friends who are from these communities, friends who are, of these cultures. This issue is very personal to me and it's painful and it's frustrating. This is why the center is important. Because when I talk to friends from both sides, I don't change my tone, but I do listen and I do have access to multiple philosophies on how this situation is being handled, so on and so forth. All right. My initial statement is this. The situation in Gaza is devastating. Okay? It's just purely devastating. Innocent lives are being lost. It's confusing. It's sad. It's infuriating. Okay? Post 9/11, guys, Islamophobia is a real thing. It's a real thing. I just want you guys to think about how we treated the Muslim community in America ever since 9/11. And let's be fair. The terrorists that, flew those planes into the World Trade Center, the old World Trade Center, and into a part of the Pentagon, and another one we believe was aimed for the White House. We don't know for sure, but it landed in Pennsylvania. Just because they claim to be Muslim does not make them true Muslims. And I say this in support of my Muslim friends. I have begun to meet so many people that have become near and dear to my heart. Some of them we talk all the time. Some of them I don't say much to them. I just watch their stories on Instagram or whatever the case is. But we've had our heated conversations, or I've heard their heated conversations, or I see their posts about it, and they're very hurt. And I want to say this very clear. On behalf of those friends, the terrorists that have taken action in the ways that they have, whether and caused terrorism around the world, they are not the same as every Muslim out there. The majority of the Muslims out there, they actually want peace. They have been unfairly stereotyped, guys. The Palestinian perspective, y'all, Israel has violated. They have violated, y'all. Israel has violated longstanding agreements and encroached into Gaza. The occupation and settlements are real, guys. There's a history of aggression from Israel, okay? That doesn't justify what Hamas did in October of 2023, but it does provide context. When you keep pushing people and they push you back, or they come to, I hate to say this because I know this is kind of a touchy subject for Americans. Let's just be very clear. If your son or daughter keeps bullying the same kid, and then that kid shows up to the school one day with an AK-47 and starts shooting at everybody, we always want to kill the kid. Figuratively, not literally. We always want to kill the parents. We always want to talk mess about the parents. Oh, that parent was terrible because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Lock that stuff up, and what's wrong with the kid, and blah, blah. But they don't want to realize sometimes that those kids were bullied. And I'm not advocating for school shooters. I'm not advocating for those things. I'm just saying we have to have perspective. If you want to fix the problem, you have to first understand it. You want a solution, understand the problem. And the problem is that people are pushed to their limit, and then they do stuff that they normally wouldn't do. I repeat, the average Muslim does not believe in terrorism. The average Muslim is not a terrorist. They're actually very peaceful people, and I admire so much about them. Okay? They were provoked. Palestinians, okay? This is, to a degree, their perspective. All right? Let me say this, okay? Hamas is a terrorist organization that used the Palestinian people as shields. If there's one thing I'm going to stand on, Hamas. Now, please don't kill me if I come into one of your areas. But I just feel that if you're going to fight, even if you're saying you're doing this for the oppressed Muslim people, at some point in time, you have to realize when you're setting them up to take the bullets for you. That is my problem with Hamas. You guys do everything, and you say it's in light of what's going on, the atrocities that are happening. The same way I would tell an American to protest is the same way I would tell somebody outside of America to protest. The people truly have the power. Yes, the governments have guns, they have bombs, they have weapons, they have all the access, they have money and everything. But the people have the power. And if it gets too bad, the people will take over. You see what's happening in Syria. You saw what happened in Iran. You saw what happened in Afghanistan. You saw what happened over in Myanmar. So many different places where these people get fed up. And whether we agree with them or not, the people will always win if they band together. And that is why we need to stop dividing communities. We need to start empowering them. Okay. Israeli government actions, man, don't get me started. All right. They have bombed infrastructure, targeted hospitals, and caused mass civilian death. As a more powerful state, man, their disregard for innocent life, honestly, to me, is disproportionate. I just want to just say, like, you know, I just also want to put their perspective in plain view. Okay, many Israelis feel under siege. All right, Hamas initiated the October attack. Some say Israel is just defending itself, and they should be able to defend themselves. You can't just shoot at me and kidnap my people, shoot bombs and missiles and everything, and think that we're just gonna come and say, please give us our people back. If that happened to my family, I am coming. I don't care what the government gotta say. I am crashing out, and Israel currently is crashing out. Maybe the best way to deal with that is to get rid of Hamas. I don't think the average Palestinian supported that attack. They inherited that attack. Okay. 39% of Israelis feel the military's response is appropriate. Okay. 34% wanted to go further. Okay. Just want you to understand that's statistics. Okay, Hamas embeds in civilian areas. It makes military action very complex. It's hard to go and kill a terrorist when they're hiding in a hospital with an AK-47 under their freaking drapes, under their sheets. It's hard. That doesn't mean you should blow up the hospital. That does not mean you should blow up the hospital. Okay, there are security concerns. Israel views Hamas as a terrorist organization responsible for attacks against Israeli civilians. The construction of tunnels and launching of rockets into Israeli territory are seen as significant threats to national security. They have a right to self-defense. I said this earlier. They have a right to defend themselves. Historical context. The long-standing conflict has deep historical roots, including disputes over land recognition and sovereignty. Israelis may emphasize the need for secure and recognized borders, as well as the challenges posed by neighboring entities that do not acknowledge Israel's right to even exist. That is important. There are people who do not acknowledge Israel's right to exist, and those people are actively shooting missiles and dropping bombs and shooting bullets at them. They have a right to protect themselves the same way that I'm talking about other people being bullied. They've been bullied too. Okay, this is like two rival families, y'all. One has bullied the other for years. When violence erupts, both sides suffer. Okay. American hypocrisy. We support Ukraine defending itself, but we don't support Gaza. I know it's a little bit steeper than that, but that's just the truth. I'm just trying to put, truth, perspective to truth, or truth to perspective. Okay. That's two-faced foreign policy, y'all. It's two-faced. Okay. The center's perspective. The center seeks peace and not domination. It's about restraint, balance, and protecting innocent people. In closing, I just want to say this. This isn't about picking sides. It's about picking humanity. We have to protect innocent life, y'all, and seek justice. Let's push for peace. Real peace, y'all. I know that's deep, and I truly hope that I attacked that the correct way, and I hope you guys respect it. Just want to continue this conversation, and I hope you guys are with me on this. Hey, let me just go on and just thank y'all. Hey, shout out to everybody who stayed this long. I hope you guys are enjoying it, man. I have a whole bunch of other little sound effects I haven't used yet, but I don't have the needs. But let's talk about something. It's a little bit, it's kind of connected to the global frequency, all right, but it's a little bit further. It was more personal for me. Hey, I can use that music because I made that beat, and it's supposed to be for a song that I'm working on. It might come out on an album. I'm not sure yet, but anyways, Passport. This is a segment where I'm going to tell you guys basically about my travels. I travel around the world for a living, and so I want to share my story. Some people just want to hear about what I got going on. So, Passport, let me tell you guys, since I've been home for the past few months, kind of getting ready for this for the rest of this year and setting up deals, I want to talk about what LA has taught me about blackness versus what I've seen abroad. Okay. This is a very near and dear subject to me. I tell all my homies from the hood, I tell all the homies I grew up with and everything, I tell them, I pray to God that one day I get rich enough to be able to take you guys out of the country. And when I take you guys out of the country, you guys are going to see some stuff you've never seen before, and it will change how you act here at home. I truly believe everybody should get the opportunity to leave this country and go, not just saying just go to Mexico, even though it's still a culture shock when you leave America, go to Mexico, or when you leave America, go to Canada. They have different cultures, but I actually am a big advocate of just leaving this entire continent. Go to South America, go to Europe, go to Australia, go to Asia. Trust me. It will change how you guys see society, all right? When I went over there, let me tell you something. Growing up in LA, growing up black in LA, it was weird, y'all. Racism evolved with each generation. It went from overt hatred to coded behavior and stereotypes, okay? And I genuinely didn't think I'd live past 18. Then I didn't think I'd live past 21. Then I didn't think I would live past 25. Around then is when I started realizing I got to change. I'm probably going to live a lot longer than I thought, okay? At 24, I had to shift my outlook and realize I might actually live a full life. The unpopular truth, y'all. Most of the people who gave me real opportunities, early jobs, and real breaks, they were white. Not everybody. Shout out to Dave Free and Kendrick Lamar. You guys are the reason why I even have a voice or even had a opportunity into this industry. I had other little opportunities that I had passed up on, or I was working on, waiting on, but you guys were the ones who took the chance with me. You guys recognized my talent, so shout out to y'all. If y'all don't know, DJ Dave, aka Dave Free, who is Kendrick Lamar's manager, is the one who gave me my first job in the industry. So, shout out to him. And Kendrick Lamar, man, I can't say how much he poured into my talent, and he inspired me. Even if it was directly or indirectly, he inspired me, and him employing. I'm forever grateful to them too, and Top Dog and all the TDE family, man. Truly grateful for you guys. So I just want to say that publicly on my first podcast. TDE, man, y'all the best, man. I rock with y'all, man, for real. But yeah, I just want to point that out though. Yeah, most people who gave me opportunities were white. Shout out to Jackie Augustus too, man. Jackie Augustus used to work at my elementary school. Then when I got to high school, she was building a program at Narbonne High School. That's my alma mater. Jackie Augustus was building that there. She was there until my last year. She got moved in my senior year or right before my senior year of high school. She went to Gardena High School. As soon as I graduated from high school, she offered me a job, and she helped me get my teaching credentials. But a lot of people don't realize I was an accredited teacher and I was only 20 years old. Okay. That opened so many doors for me. That's how I was even able to meet Dave Free, who introduced me to Kendrick Lamar and TDE, and the rest is history. Okay. Anyways, it's not that black folks didn't help, but it showed me that life wasn't as black and white as people made it seem. Okay. So world traveling changed everything. Once I started going abroad, y'all. Once I started going abroad, Europe, Middle East, Africa, South America, my whole view of blackness changed. It shifted. In most country, I wasn't seen as a black man, y'all. I was seen as an American. I say that in one of my songs, in Person of Interest. I have a line in there that say, I don't think I'm better, man, but please don't call me black, man. Call me an American. Better yet, a human. And I say that because I realize it's bigger than just being black. It's bigger than just being American. I'm a human being. We're all the same. We have the same blood. Yeah, there's different blood types, but we all have the same blood. We all, thrive off the same, things for the most part when it comes to nutrients and health and stuff like that. In Vienna, I can't forget the one time I was over there with Kendrick Lamar. Was going to perform a festival in Vienna, and while we were over there, we were stopped. It was a big traffic jam, and I looked over and it was like this ditch, or it was like a little man-made river. And when I was looking over there, y'all, I kid you not, I looked in there and there was graffiti. It was beautiful. It was the good kind of graffiti. I'm talking about the graffiti that's like people took their time and it's like really a work of art. And they had all this graffiti on the concrete sides of this river, this man-made riverbed. And as I read it, it was in English and it said, F the police, F the government. And I said, oh my goodness, you guys, this is the NWA. No, but for real. Yeah, man, that was a relatable moment, yo. I also remember I was in Berlin after Trump was elected the first time. I was in Berlin, and I was visiting the Berlin Wall, and it was like this big area, huge area, and you could see parts of the wall, and then you could see parts of the wall on the other side, and one was, Western Berlin and Eastern Berlin. And long story short, they said this wall existed, and basically anybody on one side of the wall, on if I'm not mistaken, the eastern side of the wall, they want to go to the western, they had to hop, and they ran, they sprinted. This is like hundreds of yards worth of space from one wall to the other, and there were armed guards, and if you ran, they would shoot at you. And if you made it to the other side, you were allowed to be liberated on the other side. But most people die. It's just like what's happening in North Korea and South Korea. It was like that in Berlin. Anyway, so I went to this one section of the wall in Berlin, and this is right after Trump was elected in 2016, so it's 2017. And I'm looking, and there was something written there, and it haunted me for life. It said, tell Donald Trump he doesn't have to build a wall. He can have ours. In London, France, and Vienna, people revere Americans. And newsflash, most places revere Americans. They love Americans. They may not like Trump. Now, Trump, that's a whole different thing. They may not like everybody, but they genuinely and generally like Americans. They are infatuated with our culture and everything. That's important, y'all, because we talk all this mess and we act like they're all like the scum of the earth, and they look at us like, we're the greatest people ever. Yo, I had a great time in Brazil. One of the greatest times ever. And I had one of the greatest times ever in Ghana. Yo, traveling is so important, and I just can only encourage you guys. I'm just going to tell you guys, travel. When I get on the road, I'm going to tell you guys more about my road stories. But, I just want to close this out and say, I think that every young person, not just black, but especially black, I think that every young person needs to travel abroad at least once. Trust me when I say, once you leave the country and you see how things are, whether you like it or you hate it, you will come back a changed person, okay? That being said, let me get to one of my final segments, okay? This segment is actually, the name of this segment is Minor Issues. And that bothered me. I'm just going to talk about small things that bother me, y'all. They're actually bigger than that, but, I'm going to talk about them, all right? So once again, let me do this. Shout out to Mad Dog Russo, who is not who I'm getting this recording from, but that bothered me. Anyways, being woke has become lazy. I hate to say this. Being woke has become lazy. Being woke used to mean awareness, critical thinking, accountability. It used to point out how it evolved into these movements that really captivated the community and brought to light a lot of injustices that we were having around the nation and ultimately the world. Yo, being woke now is a freaking joke. Y'all took it too far. Took it too far, okay? We were evolving wokeness into knee-jerk accusations, victimhood, and performative outrage, okay? Saying you're racist with no facts or examples is lazy, y'all. Back it up. Don't call somebody, racist just because they have white friends or they don't like hot sauce on every freaking thing or they don't over-season their food. Don't call people racist just because they like a certain type of music. Same thing I'll say to other people who stereotype, okay? Don't just say just because we like chicken, that means we're black. Just because we like fried chicken, guess what? Fried chicken is delicious. It is. Tell me what's the difference between fried chicken and Korean fried chicken? The flavors, but they're fried. Let me get off this hill before I, God dang, man. Kool-Aid was delicious. It was not healthy, but it was delicious, guys. It was delicious. Mac and cheese. Jesus Christ. Y'all about to get me started, boy. Collard greens. Oh, my God. Black-eyed peas. What y'all know about it? Dare I say it? Only some of us is gonna ride with me on this one, but chitlins. I have a story about chitlins. Anyway, let me get off of this. Let me get off of this hill right now. Let me get off. Let me give it. Yeah. Let me get off of this. Okay. Today's fight is different, y'all. It needs new strategies. Racism has evolved from outright hatred to systemic and subtle. Okay. So we need new strategies, not recycled slogans. Woke is now being used to shut people down instead of engaging people into critical thinking. BLM had good intentions, but the organization failed in execution, especially during those riots, the George Floyd riots and everything that happened in 2020. Okay, that's when they failed. Okay, are you just parroting anti-woke propaganda? The response to that is I stay in the center, y'all. I'm critical of both extremes. Yo, let me say this very simply. I remember one time I was at home. Okay, I was living in Paris, California, and for people who don't understand LA geography, Paris, California is approximately an hour and 15 minutes out of central LA. Okay, so I was living in Paris, California. My little sister, can't say her name, but my little sister, not my younger sister, but my little sister, she wanted to spend a night with me and my kids, her niece and nephew. But anyways, y'all get it. Black culture, don't be racist. Anyways, she wanted to come and spend time with us, and so she ended up staying the weekend or whatever, and so she had to go to school on Monday. And so in order for her to go to school on Monday, I had to take her from Paris all the way back to Los Angeles. And I didn't have a car at the time, so I took the train. In order to get from Paris to LA, we had to get dropped off at the Riverside station. We took the Riverside train to LA. Then we transferred onto Metro Rail. We transferred from that Metro to another Metro Rail. That Metro Rail took us all the way down to Del Amo. I'll never forget this. This old dude gets on the train and he he has a boombox and he gets on there and he's playing music and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna bleep all this out, but got that, you know, and it was cussing. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I'm sitting here next to my little sister and this guy is playing all this like provocative music and it's just like, yo, you have a boombox but you're homeless. Your priorities are effed up. Anyways, I'm saying all that to say, you know, it's not racist to not like civil disobedience. It's human nature. We need to respect people's choices. That doesn't mean everybody has to deal with it. Okay, we both need to start seeing down the middle, start seeing eye to eye. Speak when needed to. Action only when needed. Like waiting for a new George Floyd moment. I know some people are saying, why should we have to wait for something like that to act? I'm not saying that we should invite these things. So I'm saying if there's an issue, we should handle it the best way that we can. We shouldn't jump to extremes until something extreme happens. But when everything is still kind of subtle, sometimes, I'm not saying not to be aggressive, but don't be overly aggressive. Don't overbear the public. Too many times the smaller percentage, the bigger percentage and the majority is being drowned out by a small percentage of people. And I really hate that, okay? The next and one of my last segments I'm going to have is called Backstage to Center.
I call it the come up. Yeah.
Shout out to Bella Marshall. Love you, sis. Anyways, yeah, I like to highlight come up stories. I like to highlight people in the community that are doing great things, you know, underground, you know, artists, acknowledged national rising stars and stuff like that. Things I just want to talk about the come up, y'all. I am a big rooter for the underdog. You know, I'm an underdog right now, and so I'm going to root for myself on this one. All right, this is for the come ups, and usually I would have more come up stories. And if you guys have come up stories at home, you guys want me to talk about them, please send me your ideas. I will talk about them on this podcast. You know, God willing, this is only going to get bigger and every episode is going to matter. So trust me, man, so you guys should start sending your come up stories, or start sending me your friends come up stories, or people who you support, artists that you guys support. I'll do some brief research and I will try to talk about them on. That bothered me. I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about them on.
I call it the come up.
The come up, the Backstage Center story, y'all. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to talk about me right now. I'm actually going to talk about my come up story. All right. I talked a little bit more about it in the beginning of this segment, and I'm going to talk more about it as these podcasts come out. But I'm going to focus right now on just like a brief understanding of this so that you guys can see what I got coming up, because I got a lot of great things dropping this month. So number one, I want to say this. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to my dad. My dad planted the seed that pushed me musically. My dad is a better musician than I ever could imagine to be. And I'm still actively trying to get better than him to this day. And I'm proud to say that my father planted the seed of my musicality. Okay. My first big break, as I said earlier in the episode, Kendrick Lamar, Dave Free. You guys, I owe it all to you guys, Jackie Augustus, and there's other people involved, but I'm just trying to give, some flowers to people who I feel don't get the flowers. Let me also shout this out. If you're a fan of Steve Lacy, then you should be a fan of Jackie Augustus. There's so many, I can't go into it. Jackie Augustus. Jesus Christ, man. I love you. Thank you for this opportunity to even get to a position where I can even do what I'm doing right now, which is to be uncomfortable. It's because of opportunities that you put me in that taught me how to try things that make me uncomfortable and try to succeed. Dave Free, hey, man, I can't say enough how much I owe you for believing in me. Thank you. Kendrick, TDE, Top Dog, all you guys, thank you guys so much. You guys are my first big break. Seriously, shout out to you guys. All right. My industry journey, man, I started off working for Kendrick and then ultimately working with TDE, SZA, Doechii, Schoolboy Q, just everybody in TDE I worked with so much. I eventually left them, went with Ray Shrimmer. I started working for other notable artists like Jason Derulo, Tory Lanez, Steve Lacy. Jesus, I really don't want to start naming everybody I work for. Flatbush Zombies. Oh, my goodness, I'm doing it. Lucky Day. Jesus, I'm doing it again. Let me stop. Okay, I worked for a lot of people, okay? I've been writing and rapping since I was 11. And newsflash, when I started off, I sucked. ain't the same now. It's not the same now. I'm cold. Anyways, growth mindset. I used to move in groups. Now I do it by myself. If you ain't doing no work, I'm good. I'm good, y'all. That's part of the.
I call it the come up. Yeah.
And working with them idiots. That bothered me. Anyways, now I'm pleased to announce some of the things I'm working on. I have a new album, LA Gemini. It will be dropping. We're going to start dropping in April 20th. Actually, the first single is going to drop before the 18th. Nicaragua. That's my first single off of LA Gemini. It's going to be dropping first. And then every week, starting the 18th and every Friday after that, we are going to drop a new episode of my new musical comic called Frequency. Okay. And it's crazy because we're going to start the story off in the middle. We're going to start off in the middle. Okay. Actually, it's towards the end. We're starting at episode 5, which is LA Gemini. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to Debut, which is episode 2. Then I'm going to do Easy Listening for Hard Times, episode 3. Then I'm going to do 11 Memory of Joshua McNeil. That's episode 4. Okay. And then after I do those stories, then I'm going to tell episode 6 and 7, which is supposed to be International Boy and Passport. And then I'm going to end by telling the very first album that I ever created, full album. And that name of the album is, drum roll. I don't have the sound effect, but drum roll. Rabbit's Foot. So important. Anyway, so I said, I want to do something crazy. So I decided I'm going to make a comic that's going to accompany this music. Now, the comic does not necessarily have anything to do with the music. It's a completely different story. Yes, some things kind of are interwoven into the story, but for the most part, it's a completely different story. It's fire. Y'all have never seen this before, and y'all seen it for the first time from yours truly. So please support me. All right. Look out for Frequency. Also, I'm working on 2 apps, 2 major apps. I'll talk more about that later on, but I'm working on 2 apps. And let me tell you guys, I have a soft place in my heart for anybody trying to come up. I support.
I call it the come up.
I need to.
Yeah.
I need to scoot that to where it says the come up. Anyways, but yeah, I support, rising stars, and I want to teach you guys. One thing I have learned in this industry is where the famous lose their way. What has worked and what hasn't worked. I've learned these strategies, and I want to share these with you guys. And the only way I can share this with you guys is if I demonstrate them first. So that is why I'm doing different things. It's not just about making a comic, but it's about doing something, just tapping into different art forms. That is what I'm trying to do. So the Frequency comic is huge. I have 2 apps, and those 2 apps are going to support. They're going to be primarily there to support upcoming artists, rising artists. I won't speak too much about it until I have it because I don't want nobody to steal my idea yet. But they are coming. Show Geo and The Shed. They're both coming. Please, if you already haven't been following me, if this is the first time you're seeing me, please follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Threads. You guys get more information about this. Support what I'm doing. I promise you guys, I don't have a heart of gold. I am not perfect, but I am trying my best to change the industry, and hopefully you guys will indulge me and support me, okay? I have 2 apps that are coming. The Show Geo universe is going to be crazy, and it's going to help out the underdog, okay? So my message to the hood, to the underdogs, man, y'all not alone. Stay positive. Things work out when you work them out, okay? Be great at something, even if you got to suck at something else to get there. This is my first episode. I pray to God that you guys find this and you guys find this entertaining. That you guys, even if you don't agree with me, I want you guys to understand I am completely open to other views. Tell me how you feel. I want to know. Believe it or not, I truly want to know how you feel. It's very important to me. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me how you guys feel. We'll keep it pushing. All right. We covered a lot. But you know what? This isn't just a podcast. It's a pressure valve. All right. We're letting off steam so we don't explode. I believe that everybody needs to learn how to talk. We need to talk even when we disagree. Learn to talk, not to argue, not to fight, but to debate. Be open to other people's points of view. It's so important, guys. I really want the best for everybody, but it starts off by us understanding that we have to want the best for ourselves, okay? If you got a come up story, please, man, send it. Send it in. I want to talk about you guys. It's not just about me. Okay, I plan on having more guests. If you want to be a guest on my show, please get at me in my DMs. Go to my Instagram. Go to my threads. Go to my you can't send a DM in threads, but go to my Instagram or go to my TikTok. Send me a DM. Tell me you want to be a guest. I will look at it. If I have time, tell me what you guys want to talk about. If you guys have subjects, let me know. Put them in the comments. I want to see the comments. Like this, please. Subscribe. Share this. Let me know what y'all thinking. Engage with me. I want to talk to you guys. All right. I absolutely want to talk to you guys, believe it or not. Okay. So with that being said, before I go, if the truth makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's not the truth that needs changing. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, stay building. Until the next time, you guys. I'm trying to do this correct. Until the next time, guys. This is the Minority Report, and the mic has been dropped.
I'm just soaking my tea bag. I've been getting a lot of feedback. WhoBla? Who can tell me? You? Man, your Kool-Aid trash. And you look at the back of the packet.